Hey, how's it going, mi gente? It's Dax here. I just finished watching Dwight Wood's video with Ramon Martinez on the link between fencing and Jeet Kune Do. And even though I am kind of happy that Dwight did this, I'm going to show you why it was not the right decision out of all people to pick Ramon Martinez for this interview, okay? Side note, I personally have trained under Ramon Martinez's lineage, okay? At the end of the video, they discuss Kim Moser, who's up in West Palm Beach. I personally trained under Kim Moser many years ago, both privately and group classes, okay? And there's a reason why I left Mr. Ramon's lineage. And for the last 5 years, this has been my passion, the link between Jeet Kune Do, fencing, and Filipino martial arts. So it's kind of strange why Dwight, who knows me, didn't ask me to be in his video. But guys, the reason, of course, is that Mr. Ramon is famous, okay? He's well known, especially one of his students, Mr. DeLongis, is well known in the movie industry, okay? And for movie fencing, fantastic, okay? For classical fencing and destreza and bowie knife fencing, hey, look, I respect Ramon in those areas very much so, okay? But as he said in the video, when we're talking about European fencing, we're talking about hundreds of years, many different time periods, okay? And even though classical fencer he is, historian Mr. Ramon is not. So let's get into this. First off, okay, he says that historical fencing, which is what I eventually moved on to, okay, is not good, and he dissuades the Jeet Kune Do public from doing it. Because, of course, a martial art that turns into a combat sport is no longer any good. Not only am I going to talk, I'm not even going to get into that, why that's a ridiculous thing to say. I'm going to talk about history, okay? We're going to talk about facts, not opinions. Guys, classical fencing, right, which is one of the things he does, right, which Mr. Ramon is well known for. Classical fencing was a sport, okay? It refers to time from the late 1800s to the early 1900s. Okay, guess what? The Olympics happened at that time in the 1896. Okay, so classical fencing was already part of practice in a sport. Okay, many times throughout history, sword fighting had to be put into some type of safe way to practice it. Okay. And even though Ramon creates incredible fencers, okay, they're not necessarily the most best athletes, okay, and they're not necessarily out there hanging with the historical fencers, okay. So there's a reason why they shy away from it. Number two, what he said about Spanish fencing, how it cannot be linked with Filipino martial arts. Because, of course, why would the Spanish teach the Filipinos who they conquered? Sounds logical until, once again, you look at history, you realize that the Spanish trained the Filipinos to defend against the Moro pirates. Okay, they had their own special task force called the Guardiaros. Okay, and lucky for us, we had a person paint the Guardiaros and then also paint the natives who were not the Guardiaros, so we could see how the two kind of looked like and how they fought. All right, let's take a look at them. So right here, we have a Guardiero. All right. He has a sword. This could either be a short rapier, but it looks like a Spanish naval sword, also known as a spadroon. and in his buckle he has the dagger, okay? No shields. Yes, cloak, no shield. Heavily Spanish influenced, okay? Whereas we take a look at the paintings of the ones who were not trained under the Spanish, okay? The shield is in front of them and the main weapon behind them, okay? Much different way of fighting. The footwork is different, the stance is different, right? Your techniques that you use is different. Anyone that, I mean, you talk to historical fencers who do both of these styles, okay, and they'll tell you the difference, okay, between the two, right? And if you really want someone who knows a lot more about this in depth, right, speak to Romero Macapagal, all right, who's trained under Ilustrísimo, right? That's a gentleman who would know probably even more than I in regards to this specific area of topic. Now, why did I leave Mr. Romero's lineage? Okay, go all those instructors that he mentioned. Go train under them, and guess what? They're going to put a foil in your hand, and they're going to tell you, you can only hit me right here. You can't hit me in the fencing mask, can't hit me in the arm, can't hit me in the leg, and you can't hit me in the hand, which is the most important part to hits. Okay? Of course, other fencing masters had already knew this from before classical fencing. Okay? But Mr. Ramon, again, teaches a sport, not what would be the best way of actual fighting with a sword, which would be your point to the nearest targets and to intercept the attack that's coming at you, okay? Which is what Bruce Lee drew from, all right? It's the exact opposite of the stuff that Mr. Ramon teaches. And that's why Mr. Ramon, even though a talented individual, was not the right person for this interview.